In this video, we are working with complex numbers, imaginary numbers. We'll be taking square roots of negative numbers, simplifying expressions involving I. For example, looking at number 19, look, when you see a negative under the radical, all right, Mr. Hunter, what do you know it's going to be I, okay? So the first thing you do is you think it's going to be I, and then you deal with the fact that it's the square root of 125. What's it? Well, let's see. All right, so square root of 125. Shablau, 5 root 5. Okay, so without the I, it would be 5 radical 5. So with the I, it becomes 5I radical 5. So that's the answer to number 19. Any questions? No, the I goes between the number and the radical. All right, same thing with number 20. Yes, please. Because there's a negative under the radical, I will think, all right, this is going to be I radical 72. So then I think, what is the square root of 72? The square root of 72 is 6 radical 2. So that makes this 6I radical 2. You see how it's working? Simple. Okay? All right, so that those of you who have to take the final, it's very doable. You can pass this. You can pass this. Maybe not get a 98, but you can pass it. Okay. All right. Try your hardest, buddy. So now, again, we have a negative under this radical. We do have a number in front, so be careful. So I've got this negative 3 there. I'm going to bring out this negative as an I, so that makes it negative 3I radical 28 so far. Now, I know this is going to be 2 radical 7, okay? But you might have to go like this right here. Square root of 28. 2 radical 7. Okay, so what do I do with that? So this right here is 2 radical 7. So there's my 2 radical 7. Now you see I've got that I happening. So I'm going to put that I right here, like 2I radical 7. But what about the negative 3? You got to multiply it. You got to multiply it. So that's going to give me ultimately negative 6I radical 7. Okay, in this video, well, no, this is the same video. Anyway, we will continue on this problem. We're going to simplify I to any power, really, okay? So remember the chart. Well, let's use the chart method. Originally, I taught you guys like 2 different methods, but it looked like most people were using the chart method, so let's just go with that. The chart was like this, y'all remember. It was like shabam. It's the I chart. Like when you go to the doctor and it's like P, N, P, L. So we got I, and we have I squared, I to the 3rd power, I to the quattro. Okay? Now, it's a matter of simplifying these, because everything else is just a repetition of one of these. I cannot be simplified any further, so that just stays I. I squared, do you remember what that equals, sir? I squared? I squared is negative 1, just had to memorize that. Now, I always connect these two in my mind, because I to the 4th power is just I squared squared. All right? So that makes this positive 1 if I just take that and square it. So so that just leaves one thing. I have a positive 1, a negative 1. I have a positive I. What am I missing? Negative I. So that's kind of how I do it. It helps some kids like to go, look, guys, the middle 2 are negative. The outer two are positive. Some people like to look at that and it helps them remember. Whatever helps you. You want me to show the other method as well? Sure. Or you just asking, can you do it that way, or do you want me to do it?
No, can you?
Sure, I'll do this problem both ways. Okay. All right. But I'll go ahead and finish the chart method first.
Divide by 4.
Divide what though, sir?
The number on the outside.
Well, you're getting ahead of me there, brother. Give me an extra second right here for a second. Okay. It's all about quarters. Think about quarters. Like you mentioned, dividing by 4.
Yeah.
So that's why everything is going to be in quarters. Now 1 I is like 1 quarter. So 1 quarter is 25 cents. 2 I's. Yes, Charlotte.
It doesn't have to anything to do with this.
Wait, pause, because we're in the middle of a video, middle of a problem. Let me just finish the problem at least. 3 I's. Zach Spencer, middle of a video, little respect. 3 I's would be like 3 quarters. That's 75 cents. And then that's the whole dollar. Dollar. Okay? Now you can go ahead and divide by 4. Okay, so to decide which one of these situations you're going to be in. So for this particular problem, we have I to the 30th power. So because it's I to the 30th power, if I would do 30 divided by 4, okay, because I'm getting it from this. So put that in your calculator, tell me what you get.
7.5.
7.5? Let me do it for the video. Boom, 7.5 like you said. All right, the important part is the 0.5 because that tells us that we're in this situation right here, which means the answer is going to be -1. So that's how you do it using the chart method. Okay, now here's the other method I taught you. It requires knowing your multiplication facts. So, but if you do know your multiplication facts, I personally, this is how I would do it. Okay. Any multiple of 4 is going to just give you the number 1 for the answer. Okay. For example, off the top of my head, I to the 16th power, I to the 24th power, I to the 40th power, I to the 400th power. All of these things are obviously multiples of 4. All of them would equal 1. Just plain old the number 1. So I'm going to use that fact to help me simplify stuff. So when I look at 30, I ask myself, what is the nearest multiple of 4? Okay, so that's I to the 28. Is that what you said? So I will split this up as I to the 28 and I to the 2nd. Okay, I to the 28th just turns into 1, which is basically is gone. So now I've just got I to the 2nd. And I've memorized that I to the 2nd power equals -1. Okay, so that to me that's quicker than the chart. Okay, now you and me, okay, Brooke, looking at the I to the 4th, you immediately know that's 1 without touching the calculator or anything. It's a multiple of 4, it's just 1. It's just 1. Okay? Now another kid using the chart method, 44, that was crazy. 44 divided by 4. Hopefully you don't need a calculator for that. But that's 11. There are no decimals. That means we're in it's 1. No 0 decimals, we're here. Okay. I to the 525 power. Using the chart method, I'm going to do 525 divided by 4. See the decimal, 0.25. Okay. 0.25, that's I. So if you know the chart, it's going to be I. Now, Brooke, if I wasn't doing the chart method, okay, if I was doing it our way, I would look at this and first of all, I would go I to the 500 and I 25. because any even 100 is going to be a multiple of 4 every single time, because 100 itself is a multiple of 4. So boom, that's gone. So now I'm down to a reasonable 25, and then I'm going to go I to the 24th power with a single I left over. That becomes a 1, so that's again why it's just I. Okay, any questions, my brothers?
No, brother.
All right. All right. Okay, let's simplify some more stuff on this video. When it's addition, you don't have to distribute anything, okay? I mean, watch out for if you have subtraction. Like, see this minus sign right here? That's a -1. I'm going to distribute the -1, okay? But when it's positive, you don't need to distribute a +1 because that +1 doesn't change anything. Really, the big mistake I see kids make is you'll look at this and try to FOIL it. I'll see kids trying to do 4 times 6 and 4 times I, and like this, you're trying to FOIL it. You don't multiply. This is not a multiplication problem. This is an addition problem. So if you avoid trying to FOIL it or multiply it, you'll be okay. So basically, we can ignore the parentheses. This is just 4 minus 2I plus 6 minus I. I just took away the parentheses. We're just combining like terms. 4 plus 6 is 10. Negative 2I and negative 1I is negative 3I. That's it. Simple and sweet. I made sure to turn on her read receipts at some point. She didn't have it on at first. It's on now. Should I delete that part? All right, anyway.
No.
I don't care. This is positive, so we don't need to do anything. So this is just 4I plus 7 minus 3I minus 2. I'm ignoring the parentheses. So make sure that the I part goes second. So 7 minus 2 is 5. 4I minus 3I is 1I. So this one we have a negative. So we can't just erase the parentheses like I did before. Like Mina knows that when you have a negative sign in front, you got to treat that like a -1. Okay? So that has to be distributed. Notice I'm still not FOILing. I'm just distributing the -1. I'm still not going to multiply the 5 times 8. All right, I don't want to see a 40 anywhere. Well, anyway, so that's going to be -8 plus 7I. The other one doesn't change, so I just bring down my 5 plus 3I. I'm back to combining like terms again. 5 minus 8 is -3, and this will be plus 10I. Any questions on number 27?
So just combining like terms.
Just combining like terms. After you distribute the negative, then you're combining like terms.
All right.
Okay, that's the one trick. Make sure you distribute that negative. Okay? Again, I am not multiplying 10 by 4, and I'm not multiplying 10 by I. The only thing I'm distributing is -1. -1 gets distributed. So that will be -4 plus I. That's the big thing. But the 10 comes down, and the plus 3I just comes down. Okay, so now I'm just combining like terms. 10 minus 4 is 6. I plus 3I is 4I. So that's the answer to number 28. Any questions on number 28? Okay, now we're multiplying. All right, there's no plus or minus in there. So now I am distributing. Just remember, the I term has to come second. That's important. So 2I times -3, that's -6I. 2I times positive 6I is positive 12, but it's I squared. Now, what do we know about I squared? That's -1. -1. Okay? So that's going to turn this positive 12 into a -12 with no I at all. So at this moment, I have -6I minus 12. But these are in reverse order. So I need to put the -12 first and the -6I second. Any questions about number 29?
Can you pause the video real quick?
All right, number 30. Now, so here we are. You know, some people call it foiling. I think of it as double distributive property. So I'm going to take this -1 and multiply it by both of these. So -1 times 2 is -2. -1 times -5i is positive 5i. Okay, and then I'm going to multiply 2i times everything. 2i times 2 is 4i. 2i times -5i is -10i squared. Watch out for that. Remember that I squared is -1. So that's going to give me positive 10. Okay, so I've got -2 plus 5i plus 4i plus 10. I just made that one little change. The I squared is -1, which makes this negative times a negative is a positive. So now I'm just combining like terms. So -2 plus 10 is 8. You should put the 8 first. 5i plus 4i is 9i. So that's the answer to number 30. Any questions on number 30? Okay. Number 31. Same thing. Just don't just square the pieces. You have to understand that you have to write it twice. 3 minus 4i times 3 minus 4i. So now I'm just going to do the same thing I did before. All right, I'm going to do 3 times 3 and 3 times -4i. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times -4i is -12i. Now I'm going to do these. -4i times 3 is -12i. -4i times -4i is positive 16i squared. So remember, I squared is -1. That's going to make this into a -16 with no I at all. I'm just going to bring down the rest of this. Okay, so now it's just a matter of combining like terms. 9 and -16, what's that going to make? That's going to make -7. No, because they're both negative. So that's going to make -24. So this will be our answer to number 31. Any questions about number 31? Nope. 32 and 33. For some reason, no matter how many times I do these problems with kids, I mean, a few people just got them, boom, no problem. But several of you just get these wrong over and over again. You get them wrong in the practice test, the real test, the practice recovery test, the real recovery test, over and over again. So we just have one more chance at practicing this and learning how to do it. I don't know why it's so hard for you guys, but it seems like it is. It's all about multiplying by the conjugate of the denominator here. I've got 2 minus I, so I'm going to multiply by 2 plus I. All right, the conjugate of the denominator. You have to do the same thing in the numerator, though. 2 plus I. What's that crinkling sound? All right, so in the denominator, I'm going to do this double distributive property, like I did before. So you understand. In the denominator, I'm doing this right here. So that's going to 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times I is 2I. Okay, and then I'm doing the distributive property with the negative I. Negative I times 2 is -2I. Negative I times positive I, well, negative times positive is a negative, but it will be I squared. All right? So remember that I squared is -1. Okay, so what's going to happen next is, let me just keep focusing on the denominator. Positive 2i and negative 2i cancel each other out. So I've got the 4. This I squared, think of it as -1i squared. Whoa. Think of it as -1i squared. Since I squared is -1 though, it's -1 times -1. Negative times a negative is a positive. So this is going to be a positive 1. Okay? Meanwhile, in the numerator, you had to distribute this 10. So that was going to make 20 plus 10i. Okay? Yeah, so that's great. So let me just bring that down here. So I've got 20 plus 10i. So what's going to happen now? So first of all, this is just 5, obviously. 4 plus 1 is just 5. Let's go ahead and split this up into 2 separate fractions. So I'm going to have 20 plus 10i, but it's going to be 20 over 5 because of this 5 right here, and 10 over 5. And this is going to give me my final answer, because 20 divided by 5 is 4, and then 10 divided by 5 is 2, so I'll have 2i. So the final answer is 4 plus 2i. Any questions about number 32? All right, this will be the last one on this video. All right, based on what I did on the last video, you should be able to do this one by yourself. All right, again, your first step is to multiply by the conjugate. So I'm going to multiply by 3 minus I. I got to do the same thing in the top, 3 minus I. Okay, if I do this, 3 times 3 is 9. I'm doing my distributive property. 3 times 3 is 9, and then 3 times negative I is negative 3i. All right, and now I'm doing the I times everything. So I times 3 is positive 3i. I times negative I is negative I squared. All right, again, I squared is like a -1. Meanwhile, in the top, I have to be a little bit more careful and double distribute up here as well. So 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times negative I is negative I. Okay. Now I'm going to do the 2i times everything. So 2i times 3 is 6i. And 2i times negative I is negative 2i squared. Don't forget that I squared is -1. So that's going to give me this is supposed to be I. So that's going to give me, so I've got 3 minus I plus 6I. -2 times I squared is positive 2, all right, because it's really a -1. Down here I've got this 9. These are definitely going to cancel each other out, so I can forget about that. But this negative I squared is going to be a positive 1, because negative I squared is like -1I squared, and that's like -1 times -1, which is a positive 1. Okay, so that's going to give me, I thought I was erasing. Okay, so looking at that numerator, well, in the denominator now I have 10. Let's see. 3 plus 2 is 5. Negative I plus 6i is going to be 5i. Samuel, let me see your eyes. Okay, I'm going to split this up. So I'm going to have 5 over 10 plus 5 over 10I. So that's just going to be 1/2 plus 1/2 I.